everyone, and welcome to Star Wars Empire Nights. I'm your host, Apple, and a lot has been going on. A lot has been going on since the last time I did a video. And if you were here, we covered a lot of things, and I've been really busy. As some of you know, that I run a couple of comic book conventions, pop culture conventions, as well as maintain a job I've had for a very long time, and hopefully I can retire here in 2 years. So I'm glad to be back talking about Star Wars and just being back on with you guys. So as we get started, coming back, I wanted to go ahead and make sure that uh, I had a co-host here, okay, and I want to introduce you to him. So I have my good buddy Frank. Frank, thank you for joining us.
What's up, Apple? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, but I'm doing good. Now, Frank, a lot of people know if they've seen videos before. I've explained who I am and what I've done. But let Star Wars fans know who you are. Now, I gave a quick recap of who I am. Yes, I do have talked to celebrities. I have talked to directors, insiders. So we're going to be bringing you that news, and we're going to continue to bring you that news. But I want to introduce you to Frank. Frank is a good man. Frank, we've probably known each other for what, 4 years now?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So Frank, let everybody know. Tell everybody your history, your love with Star Wars, and yeah, just let everybody know your history.
So basically, I do podcasts. So this is another podcast to add to the resume of podcasts I actually do. I actually do a podcast right now called No Gimmicks Podcast, and we talk about professional wrestling, but also others, entertainment as well. Star Wars comes up in the conversation. Um, so basically, how I got into Star Wars was in 2016. My wife decided that we were going to watch Star Wars. Now, I never watched Star Wars before. I was totally against it my entire life, and the Washington Machete Order. And after that, I fell in love with the brand. So as you can see behind me in my display, you have wrestling, but you also have horror. You have Yoda over here, you got Grogu up here, Darth Vader, lightsabers. I'm the resident Darth Vader here in San Antonio.
I
So
love it. I love it.
yeah.
2016 is when you first got started into
Mhm.
the world of a galaxy far, far away. Now, I'm much
That's
like you.
correct.
I'm actually in the process of building me an office in our backyard. We got a pretty big backyard.
Yeah.
So those that have been watching me that have watched videos before know that I'm in a different setup. Of course, I got my Batman. I have a Batman channel that you guys know about too. I'm a huge Batman fan as well as a Star Wars fan, and Frank knows that my son is named Jedi, and I love Star Wars.
Right. Right.
So I'm in the process of building that to hopefully get out and expand the office. But I love wrestling. I see your wrestling stuff back there, and you know I love horror. But I told you I love the old school horror. So I gotta ask you,
Right.
Frank, what is your favorite horror character?
Michael Myers,
Hands down.
hands down, because I've so the first cosplay that I ever did
Mm-hmm.
was Michael Myers, Halloween 2. So it just grew from there. And funny story, real quick. So when it comes into Darth Vader cosplay,
Mm-hmm.
I got into that actually last September, and I commissioned a guy to make me two new coverall suits for Michael Myers, and they were for based off of the last trilogy of movies. So he did that, but I was
Right.
like, I want to be Vader. And I had no idea about Vader. I never like I knew Vader, of course. I know Vader, but I never knew the intricacies of going into the costume of Darth Vader. So, I mean, if you see where I started in October on Halloween, which everybody around here loved, all the kids, all the Jedi, I did not know there was this many Star Wars fans in my HOA, and I do now. And it's gone. You've seen the pictures. I've showed you stuff that
Mm-hmm.
I do. So I'm big into cosplay Darth Vader. I'm big into the Jedi cosplay. I'm big into the entire story of Star Wars. Everything Star Wars, like fanatic Star Wars.
I love it. I love it. And it's good to know that even as soon as 2016, Star Wars was still inspiring.
Yeah.
Fandom and getting into the pop culture, and it's gone as far as you. For me, I've been in it all my life.
Hmm.
I vaguely remember Empire Strikes Back, going to the movies for that. I remember vividly Return of the Jedi, and
Mhm.
that's how old I am. And what really kept me around was the comic books. The comic books are the ones that drove me to stay in the love of Star Wars, but also maintain it that when we didn't have movies for this long period, these
Mhm.
stories that were approved by George Lucas all coming out, and it was definitely the fandom that kept at it, and I believe it was the fandom that you know got to the point to where George was like, you know what, I'm ready to tell the first part of Anakin's life, and that was a
Right.
great feeling at that time. It was a wonderful feeling, so I love it. I love it. Now, for me, my favorite period, and you've known this from our talks, is I'm a
Hmm.
huge fan of the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic, and that's something that I love. Right.
Right.
So, and with that said, I know fans are definitely, you know, definitely have each and every one of opinion of what's their favorite movies and eras. But in the movies, what is your favorite movie from the Star Wars?
Hands down, I have to say Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, yeah. No, Revenge of the Sith is definitely one of the greatest.
And if I got to put number two behind that one, it's going to be Empire Strikes Back.
Oh yeah, man. And to me, Empire is the greatest of all Star Wars films,
Mhm.
and definitely Revenge of the Sith is definitely going to be. I always go back and forth between Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi because to me
Mhm.
those were equally great.
Yeah.
But I think I shock people when I say Episode One is like my fourth favorite after all those three come, because I just love going back and experiencing and seeing the Jedi and seeing the Sith return, and I'm a huge Sith fan. I mean, fans, I think
Of
they've
course.
heard the shows before. I'm a huge Sith fan, but
Yeah.
we got a lot of news that we got to get to, right? So we got some topics, guys, that we're gonna get to. Definitely, me and Frank are not anyone to shy away from our thoughts, our feelings on subjects, and not in this episode, but we will be breaking news, and there's news that I've told Frank before that a week later it starts to hit the internet, and like I said before, I because of what I've done within the pop culture scene, I do have a lot of friends in the industry that tell me what's going on and what's happening. And it's definitely always going to say this. And Frank, we always have to say this on the show is always take it with a grain of salt. And it's news and
Right.
rumors, right? So
Yep.
whatever we say, we'll definitely have some, uh, you know, lots of salt spread around. And definitely some things that will be said. But our first topic today that you wanted to get to was DEI. What's your take on that?
I think it's terrible, to be honest. I think that it's ruined entertainment. It's ruined Disney, obviously. It's
Hmm.
ruined Warner Brothers. It's ruining the game industry. It's ruining Star Wars. You know, there's things about Star Wars that I like, which is basically telling me a good story. Take
Right.
me to this galaxy far, far away, not put identity politics into it and all the rest of this crap that's going on. So I don't like that. And I think it's obviously the story is if you go woke, you go broke. And we are seeing that in Hollywood.
And you know what? I think this is going to definitely be a big take, especially from this show, because you and
Mhm.
I are minorities.
Correct.
And we see shows, and you've seen shows out on YouTube and podcasts. Virtually, and I always hate getting into racist, right? Because the only way we get past this is by stop talking about it, right? So for us being the minority, we never felt that we were never included in Star Wars, right? Uh, right out the bat, you had all these aliens, you had all these different characters, and it wasn't a mindset to say, "Oh well." we got to have white characters. We got to have white characters, right? And that was never a issue. And people will always say that, well, it was because of the times. You didn't know. I'm, you know, uh, as long as I've been this color in this skin, uh, I haven't, I ever, never really ever had an experience that people are trying to defend us, right? We've always had that ability to share who we are and be who we are. And I think the story of Star Wars allowed the whole world to be included and think beyond just race, but all these species of aliens and these worlds and this imagination that's out there. And we've spoken about this many times. Like, don't you know? It's like you always want to say, "Hey, thank you for doing that," but you're really not helping the the culture. You've heard it. You're out here trying to say, well, this has to be included. This has to be part of the movies now. You got to have diversity in each movie. Let me tell you something. Empire Strikes Back comes out, and we see Billy D. Williams come out and be the smoothest mother out there,
Mm-hmm.
and he just like controlled it, right? You knew who he was. You knew like he was controlling that scene, and man, Billy D was cool, right? Billy D was one of the best parts of Empire Strikes Back, and people forget that. And the whole thing about, uh, oh well, we got to have female centric and leads. Uh, what do you think Princess Leia was? Every kid, every little boy that grew up with Star Wars was in love with Princess Leia. We knew what a strong woman was, even when you had all these men around that one had the power of the force and one was a cool smuggler, Western type guy. She was still a badass. She was kicking ass, and
Yeah.
Prin- Princess Leia is so overlooked, and that is something that for the keyboard people, the people that are out there saying, "Oh, well, you got to be inclusive." Thank you, uh, but we don't need your help, right? Don't ruin our
Right.
stories. Don't come around and say this needs to be included in something that shouldn't be included. And so, I mean, we can keep going on and talking about that subject, but there's more stuff that we got to get to, right?
Yeah.
So, take it from two minorities right here. Stop talking about it. Directors and everybody that's gonna do it is gonna find it's. I'm gonna leave it off like this, Frank. When you go to the NFL draft, you draft the best player available. Okay, you do that in movies too. Go get the best actor available for whatever that role and that script is calling for, and leave it at that.
Let me
Okay.
say this real quick, and then you can go on. The thing about it is that you're fighting for this DEI and all this stuff. The people fighting for this, they don't
Mhm.
look like you and me.
Nope.
So
I'm
there you
sorry.
go, right there.
They're not. They do
Yeah.
not look like you and me. So
Exactly.
there. So our next subject that we got to get to is the acolyte. Okay.
Right.
Oh man, Frank, I almost threw up. So the acolyte is that bad. It
Yeah.
looks awful. It looks like something that I it's not Star Wars. I don't recognize it. What is your take on the acolyte?
Well, originally when I heard about the show, I was like, okay, it's gonna be cool because it's gonna be a show basically about the Sith, which I'm down for, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I heard about who was actually going to be the showrunner for this show, which is Leslie Headland, the former personal assistant to convicted, Harvey Weinstein.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I'm hearing the actors and actresses talking about, diversity and all this other crap. And once again, not talking about how great it is to be in the Star Wars project and just everything that George Lucas created. I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing all this other crap. So I have no interest in this show whatsoever. And I have people come to me, oh man, it looks cool. The lightsabers. Is that all it takes now? Is just the lightsabers?
You know, it's awful when you get stabbed by a lightsaber and able to live now. Like you just you
Qui
ruin
Gon Jinn
you ruin Qui Gon Jinn. Like,
yeah,
oh my goodness. Which
yeah,
he is one of my he's my second favorite Jedi. My
yeah,
my first Jedi and my second Jedi are the same person, which is Darth Revan. He's the greatest.
yeah.
That's my take on that. So the Acolyte, I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to any of what this show is. I'm not gonna even look at it on Disney Plus. And I wonder if
But
I
we're not coming off as hate. And this is what say this right quick. We're not coming off as haters or these Star Wars fans that you can't please us. This has nothing to do with any of that.
mhm.
Because if that's the case, then I would not have been excited about the show until I did my research and I found out more about it. And then I've seen the trailers for it. And I'm sorry, it
Right.
does nothing for me. It's basically the Matrix.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Oh my
all it is.
goodness. The force foo that people are saying.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I'm not looking forward to it. Guys, these are our hot takes, and we're just coming
I
back. We're coming
probably
back. You know, we
uh,
probably will go into
yeah.
deeper discussions, and you
Yeah.
know, this is not our just our last show. We're gonna be coming into shows and diving in more into that. But
All right.
did you have something real quick that you wanted to say?
Yeah, no, I said this that'll be the perfect time when the Acolyte premieres. That'll be a perfect time for me to finally check out Andor because I've never done that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. No, I liked Andor as a good story.
yeah,
Definitely, it always felt like something was missing in there, but it's not a bad show. It's not a bad
yeah,
show.
yeah.
The next thing that we're gonna get to is Luke Skywalker and him coming back.
Right.
Now, Frank, uh, you tell the you tell everyone, and guys, if he says it to take it, yeah, well, you can't even take it with a grain of salt because it's already out there. So tell everybody about Luke Skywalker and when did I tell you about that?
Okay, so the big story that came out pretty much is that we're gonna be seeing the return of Luke Skywalker to the Star Wars universe. Okay, now Apple, you told me about this. Now this story came out probably within the last week. It really gained traction. Apple told me about this about 2 weeks ago. You know that this is what was going to happen. Okay, and it can't tell you. Oh well, how do we know? You never reveal your sources, but 2 weeks ago is when he told me, and then all of a sudden now the floodgates have opened up, and it's actually bigger than what they're saying. Luke Skywalker's role is going to be bigger moving forward in Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars. So
Yeah. There is definitely a switch at Lucasfilm, and always to protect us, to protect myself, Frank, the show. We always have to say is that take it with a grain of salt, right? these are
yeah,
these are rumors, these are fronts, you know, to protect not only ourselves but you know our sources. So Luke Skywalker is back. Luke Skywalker is uh, heading in to this new fix. We're calling it a fix, right? Because they're not going to reboot anything. They're not gonna you know just say, oh well, you know the sequels didn't happen. They were already done. It happened. Now where we go from here and what we see what happens with Luke Skywalker, I think we're gonna be in for a treat. Okay. Um, there were always reports, and this is not from us. There was reports before that you know Kathleen Kennedy is not making any calls right now. Okay, she's not. The Ray movie is fake. There's nothing happening on that. Kathleen Kennedy is leaving, or you know her contract, like I told you, ends in October, and she's gone. And I'm gonna give you some hot news on that and some hot takes on this. And take this with a grain of salt. A wonderful man by the name of Cameron Pasha. I know people have heard that name. He's a writer, but things that you may not know is that he was already a lawyer before. I believe he's got some doctor. uh, experience as well. Well, Reverse has written for many shows. Has some good friends in the industry as well. And he said this a year ago, and I know a lot of people give him crap about it, but they were trying to do a Viking funeral at Celebration for Kathleen Kennedy, but she didn't want to. She let her pride stick there. Now, when that happened, when they didn't give her the chance to walk away in the sunlight, or in the sunset. Um, take this with a grain of salt. But every bad news that comes out about Lucasfilm, how much money has been lost, how much money Lucasfilm pulled and was hurting, and what's going through, these were all done by Bob Iger and Jon Favreau. And they're the ones that are leaking the news. Now, Favreau was the one that also said, Bob, I'm going to need Luke Skywalker. And Bob's basically saying, yeah, you take it. Because you know why? Jon Favreau launched the Marvel universe. The Marvel Cinematic Universe would not be here unless it was for Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau is a brilliant, wonderful director. That dude, I hope he watches this one day. Dude, you are so money. You are so money, John. And he is the one that is trying to bring us back to a Star Wars that we remember. Okay? And all this news, and I guarantee you, Frank, I know we just talked about the Acolyte, but you're going to be hearing news about the Acolyte of how much it lost, how much it went through, and that's our good friend John releasing that news, man. So you can take that with a grain of salt. Take it with a grain of salt, if however you want. But that's what's going on. All right, guys. So here we are. We're going into our next segment, which is Hasbro. Now, I pretty much stopped collecting anything new of Star Wars unless it had something to do with the old Star Wars, not Disney Star Wars, previous Star Wars. So I'll still collect the Darth Revan, Old Republic pops and stuff like that. But Frank, what's your take? What's going on with Hasbro right now?
They have a bunch of Star Wars figures that they have not been able to sell. That's what's going on with Hasbro, right?
That's
they
right.
Hitched their wagon up to Disney to get that license. And don't get me wrong, Hasbro puts out a lot of quality stuff. Okay, I have a whole wall back here of just Vader and the Inquisitors and all that. So I mean, they put out good stuff, but they've put out too much stuff, and they're not getting a return on that investment. That's the problem. And I know for a fact because unlike yourself, I do collect a lot of the newer stuff. And one of the most sought after figures for the Black Series by Hasbro has been the Anakin Skywalker, Revenge of the Sith. And they have not put that one back out. And that figure right now goes for over $100 on eBay. So, wow. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Okay, so I'll say this part. Even though I'll collect the old stuff, I do love the stuff from the Mandalorian. I do have some Mandalorian figures. I will say that I have Bo-Katan as well, and I love Katie Sackhoff. Love her. She is a sweetheart. I've been able to have her at my shows. I absolutely love her. And Frank, you didn't know about this, that I was going to do this. Okay? But guys, we got to get to 1,000 subscribers. Okay? And to help that, Frank, you know what we're going to start doing?
No, I don't. What's that?
All right. Well, we're going to make a little, Star Wars grab bag. Okay? And, well, the first thing that we're going to do when we hit 1,000 subscribers. So, guys, you got to watch. You got to get us to that 1,000 subscribers. Tell your friends, tell everybody that that loves Star Wars to come out hang out with us because we are going to be giving away. Look at that, Katie Sackhoff signed. Hopefully the camera's going to go crazy now. A Katie Sackhoff signed photo. Okay.
That's awesome.
Yep, her as Bo-Katan. We're gonna give that away, and we're gonna keep adding into this grab bag. So you got to be a subscriber. One of the 1,000 is gonna win. Once we hit it, is gonna hit this big grab bag. But we're also gonna have a lot of giveaways when we do the 1,000 subscriber. We're going to try to go as fast and live as possible. We're going to be picking out subscribers because guess what I'm doing, Frank?
What's that?
I am going to get a whole bunch of Star Wars stuff, that comic books, trinkets, a lot of things for the show. So that way we can go ahead and start giving it out. And once we reach 1,000 subscribers, we're going to be trying to do milestones, right? We might even do something maybe once every 2 weeks, once every week, to give out to subscribers and Star Wars fans and thank them for being here and actually subscribing to us. So that's something that you could look forward to, guys. So we're going to have a lot of goodies coming out right there.
So let me get this right. So they subscribe to the channel. Mm-hmm. They get entertained and they get news that you're probably not going to hear anywhere else, right. And you get free stuff. I think it works out.
That's right. Exactly. That's exactly how it works, right?
Yeah.
And so, I know not to get off subject, we were talking about Hasbro and the lack of stuff that, Hasbro's hurting. They've already gone to Disney. In fact, I believe, take this with a grain of salt, guys. Take this with a grain of salt. It was at the beginning of April. And I think I told you about this, Frank, that Hasbro pretty much let Disney have it. That they've lost so much, even to the point where they may even affect their business to where they're going to be having layoffs. Take that with a grain of salt, guys, but
they've had layoffs. Yeah, they've been having layoffs.
They've been okay. There you go. I haven't even read it.
Yeah.
But oh man, I feel so bad for that.
Yeah.
So it is definitely something sad. No one should have to lose their job, especially when they're doing something as awesome as make toys, right? So it's not just them; it's other partners that they've had, dealings with where. Anything that carries the license of Star Wars is hurting right now. And that's why they're trying to go back and try to use the old stuff, right? The old Lucas stuff. That's what they're trying to do. And we saw that on May the 4th. May the 4th, we saw a whole bunch of stuff that didn't even include any of the new stuff other than the Acolyte. And I could not believe that they did that. I cannot believe they're making figures for that. And Hasbro, I hope you don't make a huge run. I hope they're scarce, and if you're a collector of that and you're looking forward to that, hey, props to you. But yeah, OG Star Wars fans, we're not looking forward to that.
Well, I mean, you're going to have a bunch of figures that are going to be pretty much peg warmers that are going to end up at Ollie's within probably three months. I mean, that's just what's going to happen. You know what I mean? But they put out a bunch of different stuff, but. Going with it with Hasbro, I mean, it's not just affecting Hasbro, it's affecting just the entire industry overall. Mm-hmm. It's just, the bottom line of it is that Disney needs to understand that the mistakes they made with Kathleen Kennedy, putting her in charge of this and trying to make this pretty much a girl brand when it's not a girl brand. The Star Wars brand is a male brand, just like Barbie is a female brand. Okay. Why is it that Barbie was one of the most successful films ever? It's because they stuck to what makes Barbie work. Yeah. Star Wars can't, for some reason, Star Wars can't do that. Star Wars, for the last, 10 years or more, has been nothing but an agenda. And that agenda has failed miserably. And it's like shows that they have done where I have looked forward to. I looked so forward to when they announced it to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because of the fact that they were bringing back Hayden Christensen, they were bringing back Ewan McGregor from the prequel trilogy, and it just went off the rails into something that I mean, it had some good parts of it, but it's just the show's a failure. And people, well, why didn't it get picked up for a season two? Well, watch it and you'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, there's I had my reservations on it. It was definitely true. I love Ewan McGregor, and any Star Wars fan loves Ewan McGregor. And to see Hayden come back, that was awesome to see him come back. But the story wasn't there. It was lacking the anticipation and the perks of Obi hiding from Vader and the Empire. And it just was bad for me. I didn't enjoy it. There were parts where I liked. I just didn't enjoy it. Um, I will say that for for Hasbro, um, Kathleen Kennedy is almost gone. I know you guys are gonna stick it to the long haul. And I know John Favreau is going to bring something magical. It's not going to happen right now with the acolyte. And take this with a grain of salt, guys. But as John Favreau said, it is the worst fan film he's ever seen. So we'll leave it at
Wow.
that. Now, now the next topic is very interesting, Frank. We got
Hmm.
George Lucas on the topic. Now, is
Oh
that
yeah.
something that you want me to talk to, or do you want to talk to that?
Well, you know something. You told me this in confidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't said anything to anyone about it. And I think that the floor is yours. So you go out here and you tell the audience what you told me, because this kind of coincides with an interview that Star Wars Theory did on his channel. Um,
Yeah, no, Star Wars Theory does amazing work. I love him because he's a real Star Wars fan. He does it for the passion of the fandom, and um, he wears his passion on his sleeve of Star Wars, and I mean that guy is just, I mean he's like us. He's a Star Wars fan, and he knows what's good and what's bad. And um, so with that said, I had no idea about that interview. You were the one that told me about that interview. Of the old, what was it? The cinematographer? Was it the?
yeah, I think he what was his name? Roger Christensen, I think his name, or Chris. He did the
Yeah,
he made the lightsaber
yeah, yep,
on
yep.
the New Hope. So he's one of George Lucas's confidants, one of his friends.
Mm-hmm.
So he relayed some information during that interview that
Mm-hmm.
actually kind of took Star Wars Theory by surprise. When he said that he believed that George would be back because he said George had been there. Now I'm gonna say this part, and I'm gonna let you go ahead and do it. But what people took from that, because even it took Star Wars Theory kind of like back a little bit. And then there have been countless videos from other channels, WDW Pro, which I love that channel. It's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
That part place, Valiant Renegade, all those guys. They brought up that George Lucas could, there was nothing there concrete to say that Lucas was back. Okay, but this all goes back to the earnings call. This goes back to
Mm-hmm.
the proxy battle, where George Lucas came out and backed Bob Iger. And people said, well, why would he go and do that? I mean, George is one of the biggest stock owners in Disney. So, I'm going to protect my money.
Right.
We all see now, though, that wasn't the best decision to make. But, anyways, in saying that, he said during an interview, he said that he had heard Lucas, was back. He had been there. And people thought, well, yeah, of course he's been there. He was there, during the Mandalorian and all that. But
Mm-hmm.
it was more recent. So, this is where you have the floor.
So I had no idea about that interview. I don't know if I told you before that interview. But uh, take this with a grain of salt. Okay. Um, George Lucas has a relationship with Bob Iger. Of course, he was upset at them not taking the treatment, but George took it as, well, it's not my baby anymore, right? And any father knows this. That's not true. If you have your baby out there, you're always gonna always love and care, and in this situation, it's not a being, right? But I know George Lucas still um, has feelings towards these uh, projects that have come out, and he has been lost and confounded about what Kathleen has done, even though he's known her for years. It is decades. So take this with a grain of salt, guys. Just take it with the big old sack of salt. Okay. Um, One of my inside sources has said that George Lucas has frequent the Lucasfilm offices, and I believe it was the one in San Francisco. Okay, not the offices that they have in Burbank, or yeah, in Burbank, in San Francisco, and said that more than a couple of times, George has been into a conference room there. Okay, now could that be meetings with John Favreau over Zoom? Could it be meetings with Bob Iger? Could it be meetings with uh, some of the storytellers? Or could it be meetings on trying to fix something? Um, the easiest and fastest way to get content out there is by animation, cartoons. That could take a year, where movies can, kind of take up to 2 years. So, guys, speculation. Um, but some of the news that has been said is that George Lucas could be working on a TV show, and what that is, Mark Hamill's coming back in a big way, and this is going to add into our Luke Skywalker news. Besides him saying that he's coming back, and saying all the other things that he has, uh, we may not hear about it. And I'm going to use Cameron Pasha as an example. Over a year ago, when Celebration was coming on, he told everybody that Kathleen Kennedy was going to have a Vikings funeral, but she absolutely rejected it and came out with news that things that are not going to happen. The Rey movie is not going to happen. Okay, and if it is, it's going to be handled under a different direction. Um, this could be the same way, where we may not hear something about what George has been working on till a year from now. We might not hear this till May of next year, right? Because Kathleen is gone in October, supposedly, but we got to say that with a grain of salt, right? But that's technically when her contract ends. Um, I'm wondering if we're going to see a Luke Skywalker animation come out. Something that can lead into the Mandalorian, or something that can, it's just speculation, because we don't know. The only one that knows is whatever has been going on in that conference room. And so far, it's only been George Lucas and the security that's guard that room. And that's what, take it with the big old grain of salt, guys. And that's something that we don't know, and hopefully we hear about. That's something that's going to be corrected. So, I guess that's the big news for us, right? That yeah, you know, we have to say that for sure that we don't know if Lucas is back, but I mean, if you got access to Lucasfilm and you know who's in that conference room, then you know. And if you know, you know.
Well, you know what? I will say this to that. That I mean, it could be animation that he's working on. It
Hmm.
could very well be a Disney Plus live action show that they could be working on that would take place of season 4 of The Mandalorian. That's not going to happen. These are
Yeah.
all speculative things right now, but it's just we're seeing a shift here where Lucasfilm is basically saying, okay, we can't go back and act like this didn't happen. Okay.
Right.
But we can fix it. So what do people love? They love the original trilogy. They love the prequels. That's
Right.
what okay. So let's give them what they want, right? We're gonna do fan service, but you have no choice but to do fan service at this point.
Right.
Because you have got to get back a return on your investment. People don't understand. Disney bought Lucasfilm in 2012 for $4.2 billion. It has come out recently that they have not made money on that investment. They have made, out of all the films they put out, okay,
Mm.
Force Awakens, Rogue One, The Last Jedi, Solo Star Wars Story, um, Rise of Skywalker, all these different movies. They only made like $1.2 billion. So you have not made any money off this. What's the
Right.
problem? The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi were the first two movies of Star Wars I've ever saw in theaters. Okay, I enjoyed The Force Awakens, and then it fell off with The Last Jedi. It goes all the way back then. That's where the
Hmm.
problems start. Okay, and
Yeah.
then I recently, within the past few months, I actually watched Solo, a Star Wars story. I enjoyed it. You know, so it's just you there. I don't know if people who watch this right now know that they're actually releasing Star Wars Oreos. Did you know that?
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna probably be Luke Skywalker in there,
Yeah,
just like the
that.
milk,
Well,
right?
that's what was on the cover. You're correct. So
Oh
on
yeah.
the on I have to say it to you
It's.
on the cover. It is Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader,
Hmm.
Leia, Chewbacca. It's a mix of characters. They even got Ray in there somewhere at the bottom, but it's a bunch of different characters, and I think the cookies are like so. It's the chocolate cookie, but some the cream filling is like blue for the light side, red for the Sith. It's crazy, but that's what they're going. They're going back to this branding.
Oh, I
You
love
see
that.
the milk that they have. They have the milk cartons have C-3PO. It has Din Djarin, Mandalorian. It has R2D2, Grogu, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker. This is where we're at, guys. They're going back to what works. They're going back to what I love about Star Wars, and they have the acolyte, but it's going nowhere. The trailer has been ratioed. Um, it's going nowhere,
It's
man.
gotta
It's
go.
it's 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 done before you even get started. People say, "Oh, well, why is everybody hating on this show before it comes out?" You know why we're necessarily hating on this show? Is because when you have a showrunner that disrespects the maker
Hmm.
that created the entire universe, in which she has the the privilege of actually doing a project, and you disrespect the maker and say, how can people just be sitting around for George Lucas like he knows everything about Star Wars? Dummy, he created.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody that would know anything about Star Wars, it would be George Lucas. And if there's number two that would probably know, and he's kind of questionable sometimes, Dave Filoni.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And for anything that Leslie Headland is leading, I am not for. I mean, you do not make those comments about the maker. You just don't. And right out the bat, Star Wars is the acolyte, which I was when they announced it, I was like, "All right, we finally get the Sith side. Like, let's tell the Sith story. Like, there's so much story out there for the Sith, and finally see the other side of it. It and then finding out it was her, and then hearing the leaks and the stories, it was not good. It's not good, and um, you know it's bad when what's her name? Moss, the actress that's playing the Jedi that we see in the trailers. She was in the Matrix.
Yeah.
It's bad when she's not even promoting it. When she's not even on the
You're
social
right.
media,
I haven't seen
she
anything
hasn't
for her.
promoted anything. You know what I mean? If I was a Jedi, I would be so cool. I mean, I'll be putting it on social media left and right. And she
And
hasn't
it's
done
like,
anything since the Matrix, right? So
yeah,
the fact
right.
that it's gonna take this route with her, I mean, and a wonderful, amazing actress as well.
Absolutely.
It's just not. That's not good. That's not good. And
But we go back once again what this story is
mhm.
about.
Yeah,
This story
yeah,
is about DEI.
right.
That's what it's about. Okay, and people, once we get you mentioned earlier about Billy D. Williams coming as Lando.
Yep,
Okay, we fast forward that to episode one. Mace Windu, the great Samuel L. Jackson, was Mace Windu.
yeah,
All right,
yeah. And you know what?
we forget that.
I'm gonna we're gonna have to end the show right here, guys. And we don't worry, we're gonna have more shows coming out. I mean, you guys are gonna be hit with another show here very soon. Um, I know we're gonna talk about the future of Star Wars theatrical, but I got some big news for you, Frank,
What's that?
about the Mandalorian movie coming out
Yeah.
and the return of Cara Dune.
No shit.
Yes, and I'm talking about a Rancor type shit.
Wow.
So,
How are they pulling this
guys,
off?
we're gonna
Yes.
that's gonna be a whole other show we got to go into, but we're gonna get out of here right now. We're glad to be back. We're glad that you were able to join us. I'm glad I got an amazing co-host right here in Frank to join us. And as we go along, don't worry, our audio is gonna get better. The surroundings are gonna get better. Hopefully, I can put up my Old Republic stuff, and we'll just have to deal with all my Batman stuff right now. But
Nothing wrong
hopefully
with it.
we'll be able to get that soon when the office finally gets done, and then we'll be out of this little room that I'm in right now that actually should be another guest room for us. So, all right, guys. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. And don't forget, please like and subscribe. Get us to 1,000, and we're gonna give you a whole bunch of goodies. And you know what, Frank? There's something else I gotta show for you as a goodie. It's
So,
Funko wristbands that say Star Wars on them.
awesome.
So, yep, you're gonna be able to get this. Look, my camera's already going crazy. Like, what am I looking at? The wristbands, and we already have a picture signed by Katie Sackhoff, Bo-Katan, for you. So, and this box is just gonna keep getting bigger and bigger till we hit 1,000. Okay, guys. So
Yeah.
we're gonna keep putting in there. So, Frank, any last thoughts? Anything that you want to say before we get out?
No, it's just everybody out there. Just stay tuned for this amazing journey that we're going to take you on here.
Yep, yep. All right, guys, and may the force be with you always.